In the late 1600s, the United Kingdom became one of the most successful economic regions in the world. In fact, it was the leading global economic power for well over 100 years. For instance, the UK was one of the first places to introduce free trade, which saw its output increase by 50% between 1870 and 1900. Like that wasn't enough, the kingdom expanded its empire to become the largest in history by the 20th century. This made it an economic giant. But its reign didn't last for long. Today, the UK is a shadow of its former self. So the question is, why is the UK's economy falling apart all of a sudden, after centuries of dominance? Before we go into that, please like and subscribe to this channel. In the 20th century, the UK experienced several periods of boom and bust, periods of rapid economic growth followed by periods of recession. These lasted until 1991. And between 1992 and 2007, the UK experienced a period of consistent economic growth, which was like the Great Moderation. This period was characterized by low inflation and positive economic growth. At this time, the UK actually recorded 63 consecutive periods of growth, which is the longest so far in the country's history. Again, things turned sour. 2008 came with a global recession that negatively impacted the economy in the UK. Consequently, between 2008 and 2013, the UK had negative economic growth, which increased unemployment and increased the cost of living. The UK's recovery from this global recession was fairly slow, and to date, the recovery has been moderate, with a little rise in unemployment rates. Now, more than ever, complaints about the state of the country have increased, the endless exchanges about the decay of public services, the high cost of living, and so on. This makes the world wonder if the UK was the only nation affected by the global recession, and also how the UK compares with other rich countries today. Well, the answer is disturbing. Despite facing many of the same problems, such as an aging population, the climate crisis, and the diminishing returns for most people in modern capitalism, and the 2008 recession, the UK seems to be struggling more than other Western states. From the fragile education and transport infrastructure to the sluggish productivity, the unusually high inflation to the relatively poor public health, it appears to be falling behind traditional peers such as France and Germany, while being steadily caught up by previously much poorer societies such as Slovenia and Poland. In 2022, Britain's stagnating economy failed to grow, especially in the July-September period, but at least managed to avoid the start of a recession. The 0% change in gross domestic product in the third quarter was a touch better than a forecast for a 0.1% fall by the pool of economists, which many analysts said was likely to represent the start of a recession. Although Paul Dales, chief economist with consultancy Capital Economics, said the fine details of the data show GDP did decline by a marginal 0.02%, even if the figure was rounded to show no change. But the key point is that the economy is not weak enough to reduce core inflation and wage growth quickly. As such, it is expected that the Bank of England will not be able to cut the interest rates until late in 2024 rather than in mid-2024, as widely expected. And according to other analysts, the economy was saved from a contraction by net imports, which are often volatile, while consumption and business investments fell. Sometime in 2023, the Bank of England said that it expected zero economic growth in the coming year, which was a tough backdrop for Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, who is widely expected to call a national election in 2024. But it kept interest rates at a 15-year high as it continued to battle an inflation rate that is more than 3 times its 2% target. Also, the Bank of England, which acknowledges the economic pain being caused by its 14 back-to-back interest rate increases over the past 2 years, has been expecting a flat reading for GDP in the third quarter. In 2023, in the month of September alone, Britain's economy grew by 0.2% from August, when growth was revised down to 0.1% from 0.2%. Although there was no change in GDP in September, in the 3 months to September, output in the UK's huge services sector fell by 0.1%. Industrial production was broadly flat and construction grew by 0.1%, according to statistics. The economy stood 1.8% above its level in late 2019, making its post-COVID recovery stronger than that of Germany and matching that of France, but a long way behind the United States, where the economy has grown by more than 7% from its pre-pandemic level. In all, the UK's economy has barely grown since 2019 before the pandemic, with one economist describing it as listless. It shrank by 0.1% in May 2023, partly due to the extra bank holiday for the King's coronation, which meant there was one fewer working day than normal. The rising cost of living and higher interest rates have been squeezing households and businesses in the UK, and when an economy shrinks, people lose their jobs and find it harder to get pay rises that keep up with the prices. Currently in the UK, the annual rate at which prices rise is at 8.7%, so the Bank of England has been putting up interest rates to try to slow the price rises, but this is having a knock-on effect on consumer borrowing costs, driving up mortgage and loan repayments for millions. The UK is surely going through its worst economic state in this period, but there is much hope seeing that the nation has had seasons of prosperity in the past. Let's explore some of the periods during which economic changes in the UK caused the economy to boom. The Barber boom period of economic change in the UK occurred in the early 1970s due to the economic policies put in place by the then Chancellor of the Exchequer, Anthony Barber. At this time, there was significant tax cuts. Additionally, the mortgage market was deregulated by the Bank of England, which meant that commercial banks could offer mortgages rather than just building societies. Also, there was a rise in house prices accompanied by increased consumer wealth. Moreover, it was the period of the first mass usage of credit cards in the UK. There were significant increases in inflation. By 1975, the inflation rate peaked at 25%. At this time, the UK also experienced its highest level of unemployment since the 1930s. This resulted in a return to austerity measures. The Lawson boom refers to a period of rapid economic growth in the UK in the late 1980s due to the policies implemented by Margaret Thatcher's Chancellor of the Exchequer, Nigel Lawson. The significant positive economic change experienced in this period was caused by income tax being reduced from 29% to 25%. The tax cuts increased disposable income and built consumer confidence. This in turn resulted in an increased spending and economic growth. During this time, the UK economy grew by 5%. The period between 1770 and 1820 was a period of accelerated economic growth in the UK. This was because of the transformation of the UK economy due to the Industrial Revolution, where the UK emerged as the world's first industrialised economy. This is the state of the UK economy, and although it's a huge mess at the moment, it could improve and become its old prosperous self again. What do you think can be done to achieve this? Do let us know in the comments. Also, please like and subscribe to this channel if you haven't. Until next time, where money matters, see you soon.